Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Easy English Spark, your home for mastering English listening and speaking skills. In our 10-chapter journey with Selina, from a bright market morning to her midnight reflections, you'll pick up real vocabulary, hear natural dialogue, and practice speaking with confidence. Ready to feel right at home in English and ignite your fluency? Let's dive in and light up your learning adventure. Chapter 1. A Bright Day at the Market. I'm Selina, and the moment the iron gates of Brighton Market swing open, sunshine spills across a maze of colorful awnings that ripple like sails in a gentle sea breeze. My shoes click on the cobblestones as a chorus of sounds greets me. Vendors calling cheerful hellos, a barista's steam wand hissing from the corner coffee cart, gulls squabbling overhead, and somewhere in the distance an old accordion teasing. Out a waltz. Warm, sweet air rushes toward me, thick with the perfume of strawberries glistening beneath misty sprays of water. Mrs. Alvarez beams from behind her wooden counter, her silver hair tucked under a straw hat. "Morning, Selina," she sings, lifting a scarlet berry the size of a ping-pong ball. I lean in, the sun highlighting tiny golden seeds on its surface. She asks £3 for a punnet, but slips a sprig of mint on top, whispering, "For your iced tea later." I thank her, tuck the fragrant bundle into my canvas tote, and promise to return next week. Just steps away, Mr. Chung's flower stall explodes with color. Tall sunflowers, shy buttercups, and lavender so fresh the stems still glisten with dew. I run a finger across velvety daisy petals and feel their cool softness. "Choose any 6, Mr. Chung says, trimming stems with practiced flicks of his shears. I select ivory daisies and a single lavender shoot. He swaddles them in brown paper, secures the bundle with lilac twine, and bows slightly as he hands it over. A whisper of lavender drifts up, calming as a deep breath of forest air. The aroma of bread pulls me onward like a string. Sophia's bakery tent is a pocket of golden light. She hauls a sourdough boule from her stone oven. Steam billows, filling my lungs with yeast and toasted grain. The crust crackles under her knife, revealing an airy crumb. I buy the boule and cradle it, warmth seeping into my palms. Flour dusts the front of my jumper, but I don't mind. It feels like wearing a badge of freshly baked victory. Across the path, Lucas presides over a kingdom of cheese arranged on marble slabs. A wedge of creamy goat cheese lies beside crumbly cheddar marbled with herbs. He slices a paper-thin sliver of chèvre, places it on my tongue, and waits for my reaction. It melts into silk, earthy, tangy, faintly grassy. I'll take a small wedge, I declare, imagining it paired with Sophia's bread and a swirl of honey back home. Next comes the juice bar, where sunlight ignites glass jars of citrus. The vendor halves an orange the color of sunrise, presses it against a gleaming steel squeezer, and liquid sunshine cascades into a recycled paper cup. I pay my coins and sip. It's bright, pulpy, with a spark of acidity that snaps me to attention. Potter named Amelia kneels behind a table cluttered with hand-thrown mugs glazed in maritime blues and mossy greens. I lift a slender teacup whose surface ripples like water. She explains she shaped it at dawn while gulls shrieked on the rooftop. I picture early morning salt air mixing with wet clay and decide the cup needs to come home with me. Into the tote it goes, carefully wrapped in recycled newsprint. As midday approaches, children dart between stalls clutching cones of lemon sorbet that melt down their wrists. Two elderly men tap their canes in time with the accordion, occasionally breaking into laughter. A black and white border collie noses a fallen apple before its owner apologizes and pockets the bruised fruit. I breathe it all in, the market's patchwork of aroma, color, sound, and story, letting each detail etch itself into memory. On my way out, I pause by a spice merchant. Hills of turmeric, paprika, and star anise rise like miniature dunes. I ask for a pinch of saffron, and the merchant folds crimson threads into a foil packet no bigger than a postage stamp. For your rice, he suggests with a wink. Even the air near his stall tastes of distant continents, smoky, sweet, pepper hot. My tote now holds strawberries kissed with mint, daisies and lavender still cool from morning mist, a loaf of sourdough whose crust crackles with each step, a wedge of chèvre wrapped in waxy paper, a teacup glazed the color of tide pools, a cup of orange juice not yet half finished, and a packet of saffron glowing like embers. Leaving the market, sunlight warms my shoulders while the accordion's last note lingers. I glance back once. Sails of fabric flutter. Steam curls from Sophia's oven, and Mrs. Alvarez waves over. A new customer. I head toward home along a narrow lane where ivy climbs brick walls and cats nap in patches of light. My heart feels as full as my tote, humming with gratitude for friendly greetings, small bargains, and the magic of ordinary mornings. Tonight I'll slice fresh strawberries onto buttered sourdough toast, sprinkle chèvre, and drizzle honey. I'll sip tea from my sea blue cup, its rim cool against my lips, the scent of lavender drifting from a jar on the table. And when the day quiets, I'll open my notebook, capture the market's colors and voices in ink, then drift to sleep already, dreaming of the next bright day that awaits just beyond those iron gates. Chapter 2. Sunrise at the Rosewood Café. I'm Selina, and dawn is just teasing the edges of the rooftops when I push open the heavy oak door of the Rosewood Café. A bell above the frame rings a single clear note that hangs in the still sleepy air. Inside, the room glows honey gold beneath pendant lights, and dusty pink walls are frescoed with watercolor vines. Quiet jazz drifts from a hidden speaker, soft brushes on a snare, a velvet saxophone. The scent of fresh ground coffee and warm cinnamon is so thick I can almost taste it before ordering. I choose a table beside the front window, where light fans in through mullioned glass. Condensation purls on the pane, blurring the street outside into watercolor streaks of lilac dawn. I set down my notebook, click my fountain pen twice, and jot the first observation of the morning. Tangerine. Sky melting into sugared lavender. Writing the colors sharpens them in my mind, like adjusting a camera lens. Moments later, the doorbell sings again, and Leo strides in. Tousled sandy hair, denim jacket slung over one shoulder, smile already half-formed. His voice carries a warm, Australian lilt as he calls, "Morning, Selina!" He drags a chair opposite mine, the legs scraping a lazy semicircle on the wooden floor. Between us blooms the comfortable hush of old friends reunited in a familiar ritual. Coffee first, conversation second. A barista named Mira glides over. Her apron is speckled with flour and a stray smear of chocolate. I order a flat white with oat milk, extra hot, and Leo chooses a long black. Mira nods, jotting quick shorthand on her pad, then asks if we'd like anything from the pastry case. Leo's eyes flick there and widen at the croissants, layers so crisp they seem to rustle just by being looked at. We split an almond croissant and an avocado tomato tartine, promising ourselves we'll definitely eat a salad for lunch later. While Mira froths milk, Leo and I trade vocabulary from last night's homework. Today's list: persuasive, meticulous, rejuvenate, and serendipity. He uses meticulous in a sentence about Mira's precise latte art. I counter with serendipity, claiming it was sheer chance we found this cafe on our first week in town. We chuckle, but there's pride in weaving new words into live dialogue, proof that the pages of exercises are spilling over into real life. Our drinks arrive. Mira places the flat white in front of me. A poised swan glides across its surface, neck arched, wings etched in microfoam. Leo's long black shimmers, obsidian broken only by ripples of steam. We break the croissant apart, The shell shatters into flakes that cling to our fingertips like confetti, and the almond paste inside glows buttery gold. Outside, the street yawns awake. A newspaper carrier pedals by, tossing folded papers onto doorsteps. A florist pulls buckets of chrysanthemums from a van. An elderly man in a tweed cap pauses to tap ash from his pipe, exhaling clouds that mingle with the chilly March air. Each small scene becomes fodder for English practice. I point out the gerund in smoking. Leo notes the phrasal verb, wake up. And we scribble examples on opposite pages of my notebook. We shift to dreams for the day. I mention the exhibit at the Crescent Art District, an installation of kinetic sculptures that spin when visitors blow on them. Leo fishes out his phone, shows me a bookmarked article and says, "Let's catch the first showing at 10. Less crowded, more immersive." He pronounces immersive slowly, letting the consonants click into place, then asks if the word fits. I give him a thumbs up and add it to today's unofficial vocabulary list. A sudden lull settles over the cafe. The espresso machine hisses once, then falls quiet. Cutlery clinks faintly as Mira stacks plates. Sunlight pushes higher, filtering through stained glass transoms and painting our table with shards of rose, jade, and pale sapphire. I trace a finger along a cobalt beam, thinking it looks like a river snaking through farmland on a map. Leo snaps a photo of the colored light across his coffee, captioning it, "Morning Mosaic." We decide mosaic should join the word list too. Mid-sentence, I realize my cup is empty save for a lace of foam. Mira returns, offering warm refills. I switch to chamomile tea to pace myself, inhaling steam laced with apple and honey notes. The room hums now with more patrons, a pair of university students comparing lecture notes, a woman in a red coat tapping at her tablet, a jogger cooling down with iced matcha. Conversations overlap, turning English into a river of accents. Scottish, burr, French cadences, clipped London consonants. I lean back, eyes closed a moment, letting the music of it all fold around me. Leo flips open his grammar guide, still chasing perfection, but I propose an experiment. 5 minutes of spontaneous storytelling. We'll alternate sentences, building a miniature tale to flex tenses and connectors. He agrees. Our story grows absurd quickly. A stray cat inherits a fortune, hires a butler, and forgets where it buried its favorite fish. We laugh so hard Mira glances over. Yet the exercise works. We use although, meanwhile, therefore, and eventually without stumbling. At last we pay the bill, leaving coins that clink into the ceramic dish. I tuck the fresh page of vocabulary, immersive, mosaic, serendipity, and a surprise newcomer panache into my notebook. We bundle into coats and scarves, step outside, and blink at the fully risen sun. The chill lingers, but warmth flickers on the horizon. As we walk toward the art district, the Rosewood Café behind us breathes out a plume of coffee-scented air, like a sigh of satisfaction. I glance back through the window. The swan on someone. Elsa's latte is already dissolving, its wings scattering into tiny bubbles. For a heartbeat, I feel possessive of that fleeting art. But then I remind myself that mornings, like microfoam, are meant to change form and drift away. We cross the street, dodging a cyclist and a delivery van. Side by side, notebook between us, we rehearse our new words in low voices. Every syllable feels brighter in the fresh daylight, every mistake less intimidating. Ahead, the skyline is a patchwork of brick chimneys, glass roofs, and a single crane silhouetted against the sky. Proof that even cities work on themselves, building upward, layer by layer. I tuck my pen behind my ear and quicken my pace. Another chapter is waiting, and I'm eager to read it aloud. Chapter 3. Through the city on the number 12 bus. I'm Selina, and a pale strip of morning light has only just begun to touch the rooftops when I reach the stop for the number 12 bus. The shelter's glass walls are still beaded with night cold droplets. Every exhale meets them in a brief cloud before vanishing. Somewhere behind me, a bakery delivers its first tray of rolls. Yeast, sugar, and faint vanilla drift through the crisp air like an invitation. I pull my scarf tighter, tap my travel card against the inside pocket of my coat, and rehearse today's new vocabulary under my breath. Anticipation, panoramic, meander, and revel. A rumble announces the bus long before I see it. Headlights sweep across the damp asphalt, catching silver streaks in the road. The vehicle sighs to a stop, doors folding open with a soft gasp. I climb on, nodding to the driver, a middle-aged man with welcome matte eyebrows and an enamel pin shaped like a paper. Airplane. "Good morning," he says, accent thick with the coast. His friendliness nudges me to practice. "Morning. Could I please get a day pass?" My words float out smooth. He taps a button, hands me a receipt, and replies, "All set. Enjoy the ride." Small victory number 1. I choose a window seat halfway down, the fabric still slightly, warm from the last passenger. The bus lurches forward, merging into sparse traffic, and immediately the city begins to scroll past like a slow film strip. Street lamps fade, shop shutters rattle up, Gulls wheel overhead, crying out like squeaky hinges. I fish my notebook from my tote and jot. Dawn chorus of gulls. Audio backdrop. We turn onto Seabrook Avenue, where rows of terraced houses stand shoulder to shoulder. Freshly scrubbed bricks glow apricot in the new light. In the front garden of one house, a black cat stretches on the stone wall, tail flicking with regal disinterest. I mouth today's first word, revel, and note the cat revels in the thin warmth of sunrise. At the next stop, a cluster of passengers boards, a grandmother knitting something lemon yellow as she walks, a pair of teenagers wearing matching maroon, beanies and sharing earbuds, and a suited commuter clutching a reusable cup printed with motivational phrases. They disperse silently through the aisle, and an aroma of peppermint gum blends with wool and faint cologne. We cross the Grand Parade, and the sea comes briefly into view, an expanse of pewter edged with bottle green waves. Sunlight flares off. The water, bright enough that I raise a hand against the glass, leaving a ghostly print. A cyclist speeds along the promenade below, coat flapping like a cape. I practice panoramic. A panoramic flash of sea and sky appears, then slips away behind. Buildings? The bus turns inland. We glide beneath a railway bridge whose stone arches are tattooed with neon graffiti, bubble letters, geometric foxes, a poem fragment. Find sparks in ordinary corners. I whisper the line, letting each consonant pop. The teenagers opposite notice and grin. I grin back, cheeks warming. They pull a phone from a pocket and snap a picture of the graffiti as we pass. Traffic slows near Hanover Square. A florist parks a van, sliding open its door to reveal buckets of chrysanthemums, still bundled in brown paper. Steam rises from a nearby manhole, curling around the flowers like breath on a cold morning. A phrasal verb surfaces. Steam rises. I underline it in my notebook. The grandmother beside me finishes a row, needles clicking to a pause, then asks, "Is that shorthand?" Her accent lilts Irish. "Vocabulary notes," I say. She nods approvingly, tucks the needles under her arm, and tells me she once kept French flashcards in her apron when she worked as a pastry chef. She shares the French word for lemon, citron, and I trade her meander, explaining how it means to wander without a straight path. We repeat it together, her syllables bright and deliberate. The word feels at home in the gentle sway of the bus. As we start downhill toward Willow Street, the city unfurls in deeper color. Shops wake up one sign at a time, iron and ink tattoo, beanstalk books, Odyssey vinyl. Outside the bookstore, a ladder leans against the facade where an employee dusts golden letters with a horsehair brush. Dust motes spin in the sun, becoming tiny galaxies for a breath before settling again. At Willow Street stop, the doors whoosh and a gust of bakery warm air joins us. A young woman boards wearing a mustard raincoat and wheeling a cello case behind her. She settles across the aisle, sets earbuds, and begins fingering imaginary strings, left hand climbing, right hand bowing invisible music. The suited commuter tilts his head, tracking the silent performance. I scribble. She rehearses ghosts of notes. Practice is everywhere. The route now threads through the older quarter, cobbled lanes lined with gas lamps, though electricity long ago replaced their flames. Our driver maneuvers carefully, tires hissing over redstone. We pass a doorway where someone has chalked welcome home in 5 languages. Bienvenue, willkommen, bienvenido, Huan Ying, Khush Amdeed. I practice each pronunciation in a whisper, tasting the different rhythms on my tongue. We pause outside the Museum of Mechanical Curiosities, my destination. Its glass frontage reflects the bus in morning gold. Gears taller than people tick, slowly in the lobby, visible through the window like a giant's wristwatch. But I'm not alighting yet. I want the full circuit first, linguistic mileage for my fare. Back on the move, we skirt Bramble Park. I crane to see the duck pond where mist lingers above the water. Joggers loop the gravel path. A Dalmatian bounds ahead of its owner, spots, smudged in the haze. The bus slows almost to a crawl behind a street sweeper. Orange warning lights spin, casting rhythmic pulses across our ceiling. I note cautionary amber strobe, unofficial metronome. At Milford Library stop, half the passengers disembark. The grandmother with knitting gently pats my arm in goodbye. I wish her bonne journée with the best French accent I can muster. She laughs, corrects me softly, and exits in a swirl of lemon yarn. My seat suddenly feels spacious but lonely, so I slide to the aisle side, legs braced against the gentle curve of the floor. 2 school children climb aboard, siblings, judging by identical cowlicks. They race to the back, giggling, backpacks, thudding. The driver calls, "No running, please," voice firm but kind. His paper airplane pin catches a sunbeam, flashing silver. Another word surfaces, regulation, and I jot. Regulation keeps chaos from taking the wheel. Through an industrial district now, murals of giant cranes, shuttered factories graffiti bright, shipping containers stacked like toy bricks. Yet someone, has planted marigolds in paint-splattered buckets along the footpath. Their burnt orange faces bob in the diesel-tinged breeze, small rebellions against monotony. I practice contrast by describing them aloud, vivid blooms against dull steel. Finally, the bus swings back toward the city's heart. We crest a hill, and an unexpected vista opens. River, rooftops, cathedral spire pricking the cloud cover. This is the panorama printed on postcards, yet seen from the bus window it feels private, like a secret shared only with early risers. My breath fogs the glass. I trace a quick smiley face, laugh, and wipe it away. We approach the central interchange, where I'll disembark for the art district. The cello player stands, shoulders the instrument, and offers a grin. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" she says. I answer, "It's inspiring," carefully stressing the second syllable just as my teacher drilled. She nods appreciatively at the word choice and steps off. When the doors close, I remain one stop more, letting momentum cradle me a final time. I flip back through my notebook. Anticipation, panoramic, meander, revel. Beside each, I've penned a living sentence from this journey. The list grows to include contrast, regulation, and cautionary. Language is no longer abstract, it's knit into bus engines, window fog, and marigold petals. The number 12 sighs to a halt outside Crescent Art District. I thank the driver. "Have a great day," and he tips an imaginary hat. Stepping onto the pavement, I'm greeted by a swirl of city noise, bicycle bells, espresso grinders, distant construction clangs. My ears tune to them like a musician finding pitch. The bus pulls away, tail lights blinking farewell. Its windows catch the sun, flaring orange before disappearing round the corner. I breathe in cold air spiked with roasted coffee and fresh paint. Time to meet Leo, time to wander galleries, time to fold new words into new memories. But first, one last note. Even a routine bus ride can meander into an adventure when you ride it wide awake. I cap my pen, tuck the notebook under my arm, and head toward the first mural, ready to keep the story rolling. Chapter 4. Wonders of the Old Town Museum. I am Selina, and the moment I step onto the worn granite steps of the Old Town Museum, I feel as if I am walking into the past. The building rises 3 stories above me, all honey-colored sandstone and arched windows that still carry faint soot from another century. Sunlight glints off tall panes and scatters warm flecks across the entrance hall. My friend Leo meets me just inside the revolving door, his smile wide, his notebook already in hand. We exchange a quick greeting, slip our day passes into the lanyards provided by the attendant, and pause beneath a lofty ceiling painted with fresco clouds. The caretaker tells us the museum once served as the first guild hall of the city, built 200 years ago, later converted into a library, and finally reborn as the cultural trove we are about to explore. The entry corridor smells of beeswax polish and aged paper. I take a slow breath while my eyes adjust to the amber light. To our right hangs a grand oil portrait of the original architect, monocle in place, quill poised above a scroll. His gaze seems to dare us to discover every secret tucked inside these walls. Leo points to the caption plaque and whispers our first vocabulary target of the afternoon: architectural heritage. We repeat the phrase, letting each syllable settle, then jot it down before moving on. We begin in the Gallery of Light, a room painted creamy white so the colors of the canvases burst forward. Spotlights pool onto frames, and the air hums with the quiet reverence of visitors speaking in gentle tones. A docent in a linen vest guides a small group beside us, but Leo and I wander free, stopping before a sunset seascape that fills almost the entire north wall. Thick strokes of crimson and violet stretch across churning water, and a single fishing boat tilts among waves. The title card reads, "Dusk Return." I whisper the new adjective vibrant, then use it in a sentence for practice. The vibrant sky mirrors the rhythm of the tide. Leo nods approval and adds that the painter was only 21 when he finished this masterpiece. That small fact feels like another layer of color. Next, we enter the portrait alcove. Soft instrumental music drifts from concealed speakers, violins echoing through hush. I stand eye level with a portrait of an elderly woman holding a silken fan. Each wrinkle around her mouth is rendered in such delicate detail that I can almost feel the years in her expression. Leo points out the subtle use of chiaroscuro, a term meaning contrast of light and shadow. Then we both pronounce the word slowly, so it sticks in memory. I imagine my English tutor smiling at our dedication. We weave onward into the sculpture court, a space crowned by a glass dome. Afternoon sunlight falls through the panes, scattering geometric patches across marble statues. A fountain murmurs at the center, its water scented faintly with stone and copper. To the left, a Roman athlete stands mid-stride, muscles taut, eyes fixed on some invisible finish line. Leo tries the vocabulary word dynamic, describing how motion freezes in white stone, and I nod while writing it down. A little farther on, a medieval angel spreads wings that curve backward like delicate sails. I lean close to admire the feather. Grooves. They look soft even though they are cold marble. I say quietly. Such intricate carving. Leo repeats intricate, committing it to memory. Below the dome, a wooden bench invites us to sit. We rest for a moment, necks craned upward at stained glass panels that ring the ceiling. Each panel shows a different season. Spring bursts with blossom, summer blazes with sunflower gold, autumn whispers with amber leaves, and winter glints icy blue. Tiny motes float in the sunlight like invisible music notes. We sit silent, letting the scene write itself into our thoughts. Our map leads next to the Hall of Inventions. The lighting shifts to soft indigo. Cabinets glow with subtle LEDs, and early machines stand behind velvet ropes. A polished brass orrery rotates planets around a miniature sun. Nearby, a clockwork bird flaps tin wings every 90 seconds, powered by hidden gears. I tap Leo's shoulder and say the word ingenious. He grins and answers with mechanism, then mimics the ticking rhythm while we proceed. At an interactive kiosk, a screen invites visitors to solve a puzzle by arranging gears of different sizes. We take on the challenge, fitting brass cogs into sockets until the whole contraption spins. A bell sounds to mark success, and the machine releases a puff of lavender-scented air. A small girl beside us claps. Her father thanks us for demonstrating. She steps up to try herself. Watching her concentrate reminds me why learning in motion feels so engaging. We drift toward the folk culture wing. Here the flooring changes to polished oak, and soft carpets soften footsteps. Cabinets display embroidered garments, hand-carved, flutes, and painted ceramics. An entire wall shows a timeline of seasonal festivals. A recording plays traditional music, flutes weaving with drums. The melody lingers around us like warm smoke. Leo photographs a clay jug etched with spirals. I recite symbolic motif, then trace the spiral shape in midair, feeling the curve guide my fingertip. Mid-afternoon hunger nudges us toward the mezzanine. Café. We climb a narrow spiral staircase, the wrought iron railing cool beneath our palms. The café sits beneath the dome's edge, giving a sweeping overlook of the sculpture court below. We order Earl Grey tea and warm scones studded with raisins. The scent of bergamot calms me as sunlight slants across our table. Butter melts into the crumb of the scone, and I savor the quiet moment. Leo pulls out a small stack of flashcards, each bearing a new word. We quiz one another between bites. Perspective, relic, curatorial, preservation. Each term settles like a pebble into a river of memory. Back on the main level, we enter the Explorer's Gallery. Nautical charts line the walls, and a life-size replica of a wooden ship's bow juts out as though sailing through the parquet floor. Rope nets hang overhead. I step onto the deck, grip a smooth railing, and imagine wind off an open sea. Behind me, a recording of gulls and crashing waves fills the chamber. In my notebook, I write, "Sensory exhibit fosters immersion." Leo points out a brass compass under glass, its needle trembling from subtle vibrations in the room. We practice, navigate, using it in various tenses. We conclude with the time capsule corridor, a narrow passage where glass cases store letters, toys, and photographs donated by local families. One shelf features a child's leather football, laces frayed, yet still sturdy. Another holds sepia photographs of market day a century ago. I lean close to read scribbled captions. The handwriting feels intimate, like voices carried forward across decades. Leo and I exchange a glance of shared wonder. Language, objects, and memory weave into a single tapestry here. The exit opens into a small courtyard. Ivy climbs the sandstone, and a fountain carved with mythic creatures trickles quietly. We stand on flagstones still warm from sun. I flip through my notebook. Architectural heritage, vibrant, dynamic, intricate, ingenious symbolic motif, immersion, navigate. Each word has grown roots because it now ties to a painting, a statue, a gear, or a compass. Leo adds that museums transform vocabulary into living experience. I agree, feeling richer than when I arrived. As we walk toward the gate, the building behind us hums with stories we have only begun to learn. Above, the evening sky turns rose and lilac. I picture the painter of dusk return capturing exactly this blend. My final line in today's notes reads, "Knowledge glows brighter when shared under one roof." I slip the pencil away, tighten my scarf against a coming chill, and follow Leo toward the street, heart full, mind alive, already curious about tomorrow's discoveries. Chapter 5. Garden Lessons with Ms. Rivera. I'm Selina, and dawn still brushes the treetops with pewter light when I follow the gravel path into Rose Hill Community Garden, clutching a thermos that trails curls of peppermint steam. Dew pearls on every blade of grass. They sparkle like scattered glass whenever early sunshine slips between clouds. A faint breeze carries a chorus of scents: loamy earth, crushed rosemary, the faint citrus of marigold leaves. At the far pergola, Ms. Rivera, our endlessly inventive English teacher, raises a hand in greeting. She stands beside a picnic table, draped with a faded cloth, its surface already crowded with vocabulary flashcards, clipboards, and a wooden box of colored pencils. I approach, the crunch-crunch of pea gravel announcing each step, and she nods toward a semicircle of weather-worn benches beneath a flowering cherry tree. My classmates Anna, Ethan, and Mark sit there in quiet anticipation, each flipping through a mini notebook, occasionally whispering new English phrases to themselves. Ms. Rivera claps once, sharp but cheerful. "Today," she says, "we trade fluorescent classrooms for fresh air. English grows better in real soil." She assigns us partners. I'm paired with Anna, whose Brazilian accent turns every English vowel into velvet. Our first task is simple observation. Spend 10 minutes, Ms. Rivera instructs, naming everything you can see, hear, smell, or touch. Use full sentences. She taps a signboard where she has chalked 3 target structures. I notice. I'm drawn to. I wonder whether, timer set, Anna and I stroll toward a lattice arch draped in clematis. Bees hum like distant violins. I begin aloud. I notice a clump of sage with silver-green leaves soft as suede. Anna replies, I'm drawn to the sound of water trickling. Maybe there's a hidden fountain. We weave the sentences into the air, collecting sensory fragments the way children gather seashells. Soon my notebook page is a collage of quick lines. Petals blush. Pink soil smells of rain. Sparrow hops bold as punctuation. When the timer chimes, Ms. Rivera calls us back. She hands out small envelopes. Inside each rests a single vocabulary word printed in bold italics. Mine reads, pollinate. She challenges us to craft a short descriptive paragraph that uses the word accurately, then deliver it aloud. I sketch a scene of a bumblebee diving headfirst into a foxglove bell, dusting its furry jacket with gold. As I read, the class listens to the cadence, nodding when I hit the target word. Ms. Rivera's eyes smile. The approval feels like sunlight on my skin. Next comes the active listening walk. We pair off again, this time with Ethan, and receive wireless earbuds connected to the teacher's recorder. Ms. Rivera has captured snippets of garden sounds at different times of day. Dawn bird song, midday wind and bamboo, nighttime crickets. While the audio plays in one ear, we must identify real-time sounds around us with the other ear and whisper them in English. Ethan and I stroll by raised vegetable beds where tomato vines already carry pea-sized green fruit. In my left ear, I hear a recorded robin. In my right ear, a real wren answers from the hedge. I whisper, I distinguish layered melodies, digital robin, live wren, distant dog bark, Ethan adds, plus the measured clink of Anna's pencil tapping her clipboard. We laugh softly. Language feels alive, darting between the earbuds and the garden. Half an hour. In, Ms. Rivera gathers us beneath a sprawling walnut tree whose branches form a natural canopy. She unrolls a poster, the structure of a cinquain poem, and challenges us to compose one on the spot, using at least 2 new words from our morning observations. We huddle in twos. Anna and I craft 5 precise lines: sunlight, scattering, warming, dripping over daisies, illuminating patient insects, daybreak. Reading it aloud, I savor how scattering and illuminating unspool like ribbons. Ms. Rivera applauds softly, jotting a note on her clipboard that I suspect is part of her secret encouragement ledger. She transitions us to a kinesthetic exercise called vocabulary relay. She's planted laminated word cards on bamboo sticks throughout the herb section. We must locate a card, pronounce the word, then act it out with a partner before sprinting to the next post. My first word is germinate. Anna drops to a crouch, curls into a seed shape. I mime rainfall with fluttering fingers. Then we both rise, stretching arms like sprouting shoots. Laughter spills across the garden beds as Ethan flaps like a crow for scavenge, and Mark pretends to freeze midair for phototropism, swiveling his imaginary stem toward the sun. Even Ms. Rivera joins, fluttering hands to demonstrate flutter itself. The physicality brands each term into muscle memory. When our pulses settle, she leads us to a shaded clearing where rustic benches ring a small stone pond. Lily pads tremble whenever dragonflies skim the surface. She distributes sketch paper and colored pencils, instructing us to render one garden scene and annotate it entirely in English. She reminds us, label textures, not just shapes. Velvety leaf, serrated edge, translucent wing. Describe temperature, motion, even emotion. I choose a cluster of poppies swaying beside artichoke plants. As I draw, I label corrugated stem, paper-thin petal, hopeful tilt. The act of pairing color with vocabulary feels surprisingly meditative. A church bell somewhere beyond the garden walls marks noon. Ms. Rivera declares picnic time. From her rucksack, she produces a checkered cloth and homemade empanadas stuffed with spiced vegetables. We contribute snacks. Anna's lemon shortbread, Ethan's trail mix, my container of sliced strawberries dusted with sugar and mint. While we eat, she poses rapid-fire conversation prompts. Describe the flavor of the empanada in 3 adjectives. Tell a 2-sentence story about the ant near your shoe. Compare this strawberry to any moment in your childhood. Words tumble among us faster than sparrows chasing crumbs. Mistakes happen, but Ms. Rivera waves them forward, reminding us that conversation, like gardening, thrives on continued tending rather than flawless seeds. After lunch, she unveils the final challenge. Each pair must teach the class a mini lesson using something from the garden as a prop. Ethan and Mark nab a rosemary sprig to explain similes, as sharp as rosemary needles, while Anna and I select a smooth river stone that borders the pond. We demonstrate metaphors of perseverance. This stone was once jagged, but water polish turned its roughness into resilience. Our classmates echo key phrases. Ms. Rivera records them on a portable whiteboard, weaving our contributions into a living lesson plan. Long shadows stretch when she finally checks her watch. She invites us to close with 2 minutes of silent reflection. I sit cross-legged on warm grass, eyes half shut, cataloging sensations. Faint hum of bees, the peppery scent of crushed nasturtium leaf on my fingertips, a residual tang of lemon on my tongue. Inwardly, I repeat today's richest words: pollinate, germinate, serrated, perseverance, feeling them root deeper each time. We gather our belongings. Before we leave, Ms. Rivera presses a small envelope into each hand. Plant these marigold seeds at home, she says, and record the growth in English each week. Language, like a garden, rewards patience. I slip the envelope into my notebook where soil will never reach, but ideas will. The gate creaks behind us as we step onto the quiet street. The world beyond seems oddly muted after the sensory symphony of the garden. I glance back once. Sunlight glints on the pond, wind teases the poppies, and Ms. Rivera kneels to tuck stray flashcards into her bag. Her work is never really finished. Neither is ours. Walking toward the bus stop, Anna and I invent sentences using germinate in every tense, giggling when we confuse ourselves. Yet even the missteps feel like new shoots pushing through soil. I realize my notebook is heavier, not with pages, but with meaning. Garden lessons linger on my skin like the faint scent of rosemary, promising to bloom again the next time I open my mouth to speak. Chapter 6: Riverside Stroll and Storytelling. I'm Selina, and the afternoon air is still perfumed with basil and rosemary when Anna and I leave Rosehill Garden, cross Maple Bridge, and step onto the wide footpath that ribbons along the river. Loon. Sunlight flashes on the water like hurried brushstrokes of silver paint. At the opposite bank, willows dip their fingertips into the current, as if testing its temperature before an elegant dance. Houses with pastel shutters lean toward the river as though eavesdropping on its secret conversation. I tighten the straps of my satchel, still heavy with notebooks, flashcards, and Ms. Rivera's envelope of marigold seeds. I could walk this path forever, Anna says, rolling the R in forever until it purrs. Her Brazilian lilt turns every syllable into music. We slow our pace to match the gentle roll of the current and agree on one shared goal for the stroll. Harvest new words the way children collect seashells. First sound, the hollow knock of our shoes on wooden planks where the path becomes a little boardwalk. I murmur, resonate. The boards resonate under our steps, and Anna repeats it, tasting the consonants like hard candy. Second sound, a kayak's paddle kisses the water with a soft plop, plop, plop. Anna supplies rhythmic, turning, the word over slowly. I jot both into the margins of yesterday's garden notes. Ahead, the boardwalk widens into a lookout point fenced with waist-high iron railings. We pause there, elbows resting on cool metal, and watch a barge painted cobalt glide beneath maple. Bridge. Its wake spreads V-shaped ripples that wrinkle reflections of clouds. Those ripples remind me of a detective clue, Anna says, her voice low and playful. Without discussing it, we slip into the storytelling exercise we invented last week. Building a narrative sentence by sentence. I'll set the scene, I begin, clearing my throat as if addressing a small audience. Late at night, under this very bridge, a silver pebble disappears from a collector's pouch. Anna nods, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. She continues, the pebble isn't ordinary. It bears a spiral pattern identical to the one on the old stone gateway of St. Briar Abbey. I pick up the thread. Detective Larkspur, known for her logical acumen, arrives at dawn, finds only 2 clues. A single willow leaf on the pouch's drawstring, and a faint scent of lavender. Anna claps her hands in delight. Acumen joins our vocabulary list. We leave the lookout and wander farther downstream, each step unlocking a new segment of the tale. Ducks drift by, quacking at unseen jokes, while our protagonist, Detective Larkspur, eliminates suspects. The night watchman, the traveling jeweler, and a violinist who busks by moonlight. Each elimination involves a fresh English phrase, alibi, discrepancy, motif, peripheral. I weave them into dialogue. Anna echoes them, ensuring they settle in memory. Mid-story, we reach a pebbled shore where the path dips close to water. Sun-warmed stones crunch underfoot. We drop to our knees and begin sifting for a prop silver pebble to dramatize the mystery's treasure. Pebbles here vary from speckled granite to translucent quartz. We handle each one, describing textures: glossy, pitted, satin smooth, lunar cratered. Anna holds up a flat slate blue stone freckled with mica. "This one has latent sparkle," she says, stretching the new word like taffy. Latent. I rummage until I find a thumb-sized pebble with a faint spiral fossil, close enough to our fictional artifact. I rinse it in the shallows, cool water, threading through my fingers, and slide it into my pocket. We settle on a half-submerged log, sneakers dangling above water that laps with a soft hush, hush, hush. The river smells of sun-heated algae and distant sea salt. I tap my phone recorder, ready to capture the climax of the missing silver pebble. Anna leans forward, eyes shining. "In a deft conclusion," I narrate, "Detective Larkspur deduces the thief is the river itself. A sudden flood snatched the pebble when the collector slipped." Anna grins and adds, "She consults an archival hydrograph to confirm water levels, then traces the pebble downstream to a sandbar where it now lies in plain sight." I finish the tale with a flourish. She recovers the spiraled stone, returns it to its rightful owner, and donates her fee to a charity that plants willow saplings. We both bow to our imaginary audience of mallards and minnows. A breeze rustles reeds. Sunlit ripples tremble like applause. We play back the recording, noting intonation and pacing. I stumble on hydrograph. Anna's tongue knots around discrepancy. We practice each word in turn until they roll out smoothly. The afternoon matures. Shadows lengthen. River glitter softens from silver to pewter. We shoulder our bags and continue south. A chalkboard sign appears near a Riverside kiosk. Hot chocolate, cinnamon churros, 5 pounds. We exchange a conspiratorial glance and detour. The vendor, a cheerful man named Theo, sprinkles cinnamon sugar like fairy dust and wishes us a language-rich day. We perch on a bench, sharing churros, steam curling from the paper cup. Between bites, we quiz one another on synonyms: gleam for sparkle, murmur for hush, deduction for inference. Chocolate coats our words. When the snack is gone, Anna fishes the artifact pebble from my pocket and suggests we leave it for the next adventurer. We place it atop a riverside milestone engraved with distances to neighboring towns. Larkspur is one of them. Astonishing coincidence. I photograph the high, pebble in situ, then type a caption for my language blog, Serendipity, the art of finding valuable things unsought. Another new word, another ripple in the lexicon. The sky slides toward apricot. Street lamps click on, casting latticed shadows past the railing. We stop beneath one to recap. Our tally of fresh vocabulary glows in the lamplight. Resonate, rhythmic, acumen, alibi, discrepancy, motif, peripheral, latent, hydrograph, serendipity. I jot them in tidy columns, leaving space beside each for a sentence tonight. At last, the path slopes toward the city again, merging into cobbled lanes fragrant with evening meals. Before we part ways at the tram stop, Anna presses a river-smoothed pebble, the slate blue one, into my hand. To remember today's cadence, she says. I thank her, slip it into the inner pocket of my coat, and promise to send her the polished recording. As the tram doors slide shut, I watch her silhouette. Retreat along the platform, already practicing tomorrow's words in gentle murmurs. I cradle the pebble, feeling its residual warmth, and realize our Riverside story isn't just an exercise. It's proof that language, like water, flows best when released from textbooks and invited to meander through real life. Back home, I will pour the hot chocolate residue into a favorite mug, transfer today's vocabulary to flashcards, and post the missing silver pebble to the blog, complete with audio and photos. But for now, inside this tram humming toward sunset, I'm content to replay the day's soundtrack. Water-lapping log, paddle-tapping river, two friends weaving mystery into daylight. Every sound is a syllable, every ripple a paragraph, every pebble a story waiting to be told. Chapter 7 Library Quest with Ethan. I'm Selina, and the streets are still rinsed with pale blue dawn when I step off the tram in front of Central Library. From here, the building looks like a cathedral devoted to stories, tiers of sandstone, columns, gargoyle rain spouts shaped like ink bottles, and a stained glass rose window where quills replace rose petals. The revolving doors exhale a hush of cool, papery air the moment I push through, and the familiar scent, part vanilla dust, part polished oak, settles around my shoulders like a velvet cloak. Ethan waves from the information desk, auburn curls, already rebellious, a canvas satchel bulging with notebooks. We exchanged a single text last night. Library quest tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp. Now seeing him here, I feel the warm click of a plan slotting into place. Together we check our coats, pocket claim tags, and stand beneath a vaulted skylight that scatters sunbeams across the marble floor in stained glass colors. The library feels awake yet whispering, as if every book is clearing its throat in anticipation. Our mission is twofold. Track down a graphic novel written in simplified English that Ethan's tutor recommended, and collect 10 new words we've never used in conversation. To turn the errand into adventure, we treat the library as a labyrinth, each floor a realm, each shelf a quest marker, each librarian a wise guardian with clues. We begin in the atrium of maps, where a ceiling-high globe rotates on quiet gears. Oceans shimmer pewter under the skylight. Continents glow copper. Ethan spins the globe and taps his hometown in Ontario. Then I do the same with mine in Brighton. The clerk at the map desk notices and offers us a miniature compass bookmark. First, treasure of the day. She whispers one word we must work into our dialogue before we leave. Orientation. We thank her, pocket the compass, and promise to use the word. An automated glass lift whooshes us up to floor 2, languages and learning. The doors open onto rows of spines sorted by dialect, proficiency level, and topic. Colored flags label each section. We navigate to English B1, B2, and skim fingertips across titles. Idioms illustrated, stories in simple past, phonetics fun. Sunlight slants through louvered blinds, striping the carpet with tiger-like shadows. Ethan spots the graphic novel. Jetpack. Jane. Adventures in Clear English. The cover shows a heroine soaring over a cityscape, speech bubbles floating around her like balloons. He tucks it under his arm, grin widening. We settle at a circular table near a mullioned window. Dust motes dance in the sunbeam like confetti at an invisible parade. Rule 1 of our quest. Before reading, record a word from our surroundings. Ethan chooses hushed, describing the low murmur ambiance. I claim mullioned, tracing the divided panes with my gaze. We write definitions, pronunciation, a sample sentence on index cards, then slide them into the new word pocket of our notebooks. To keep energy high, we introduce a timer. 15 minutes reading, 5 minutes vocabulary relay. I crack open Jetpack Jane and read aloud in a stage whisper, giving each character a different accent. Ethan scribbles notes on phrasal verbs. Take off, zoom in, run out. When the timer pings, we swap cards. He must form a sentence using mullioned, and I must describe something hushed. We stifle laughter. His sentence involves a mullioned spaceship window. Mine features a hushed kangaroo. Absurdity keeps the words sticking like burrs. Quest Rule 2. Consult a librarian oracle whenever we collect 3 unfamiliar terms. We hurry to the reference desk, where Ms. Hadid, silver hair braided with tiny brass charms, guards the dictionaries. We present our cards. Orientation. Hushed, mullioned. She nods, stamps each with a tiny owl, and gives us our next challenge. Find the reading well on the basement level and draw 1 idiom from its bucket. Like cryptic hobbits, we descend a spiral staircase lined with literary quotations etched into stone. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Read the directions, even if you don't follow them. The basement smells older, a touch damp, like rainfall steeped in parchment. We pass rows of archive boxes, then reach a circular chamber lit by 1 bronze chandelier. In the center stands a faux stone well brimming with laminated idiom cards. A sign reads, "Draw your fortune phrase." Ethan lowers a little bucket, reels it up, and hands me a card. Bite the bullet. He draws, "Beat around the bush." Our task: weave both idioms into conversation with the next staff member we meet. Back upstairs, hunger grumbles, so we navigate toward the mezzanine. Café. Along the way, we pause beneath the towering clock, its face ringed with Latin numerals, its hands carved like feathers. We invent our 5th word, ornate. At the cafe counter, we buy 2 chai lattes and a plate of lemon poppy seed slices. The barista sprinkles cinnamon in the shape of an exclamation mark. I compliment her artistry, slipping in ornate. She beams and replies that latte foam is miniature architecture. Settling at a high table, we leaf through Jetpack Jane again. The protagonist parachutes onto a moving train. A caption reads, "With uncanny resourcefulness, Jane improvised." A grappling hook. We underline uncanny and resourcefulness. The new word tally ticks to 7. While chewing poppy seed cake, Ethan suddenly says, "I'm trying not to beat around the bush, but we might need help deciphering Jane's jet fuel bun." Perfect idiom usage. We high five. Mid-afternoon light softens to honey. Rule 3 of our quest. Explore a floor we've never visited. We ride the lift to the rarely mentioned 5th, quiet technology alcove. It's hushed to pin drop levels, lit by warm LEDs. Transparent display cases showcase antiquated devices, typewriters, early e-readers, even a Nintendo Game Boy loaded with Donkey Kong next to an explanatory plaque about interactive literacy. In a corner, sound-isolating pods host VR headsets. A sign says, "Experience Story Worlds, free today." Curiosity trumps caution. We sign waivers, slide on lightweight headsets, and find ourselves inside a 3D rendering of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. Virtual crowds murmur. An actor recites, "Now is the winter of our discontent." We practice shadowing the monologue, matching rhythm, intonation, stress. When we remove the headsets, real shelves look suddenly flatter, but our vocabulary springs new wings. Immersive joins the list, along with archaic, description of the virtual lute music, and bard. We're 11 terms strong. Only one remains to close the quest, so we head for the children's nook. Bright murals, beanbag chairs shaped like whales, and shelves arranged at toddler height. Why here? Because every adventure benefits from whimsy. We crouch beside a tiny, plastic castle stuffed with finger puppets and discover a pop-up encyclopedia about nocturnal animals. A holographic sticker on the back cover blinks, "lenticular." Neither of us knows the word. Definition search reveals an image that shifts when viewed from different angles. Perfect. 12th and final card, lenticulate, lenticular. We celebrate quietly, arms raised beneath paper lanterns shaped like owls. Now for the denouement. At the main desk, Ms. Hadid waits, clockwork owl brooch gleaming. We present our completed set of 12 cards. Orientation. Hushed, mullioned. Bite the bullet, beat around the bush. Ornate, uncanny, resourcefulness. Immersive, archaic. Bard, lenticular. She examines them, stamps each with her owl seal, and declares our quest fulfilled. But librarians love epilogues. She unlocks a display case and gifts us a limited edition bookmark embossed with the library's motto, Vivimus per verba, we live through words. The metal bookmark catches the light like a blade of polished moonlight. Day. Slipping toward late afternoon, we head outside, bookmarks tucked safe, graphic novel borrowed. The city sounds bright after hours of library hush. Bicycle bells, distant sirens, echoing bakery door chimes. We lean against an iron railing while trams ding past and review each new word aloud, ensuring pronunciation lands just right. With every repetition, I feel language muscles flex and strengthen, like a climber testing new holds. Ethan checks his watch, nearly misses his bus, then dashes off, waving the compass bookmark overhead. I pocket mine, feeling its small weight anchor memory to the morning. On the walk home, sunshine filters through plane tree leaves, scattering lenticular patterns across the pavement. Lenticular, I whisper, letting the syllables slide like marbles. One more sentence forms and files itself inside my mind. Some lessons hide in plain sight, shifting shape as you change your angle. Tomorrow I'll log the words, summarize Jetpack Jane, and share our VR Bard discovery with Anna. Tonight, though, I'll brew mint tea, slide the metal bookmark into my current novel, and smile at the tiny owl seal guarding each new card. 12 improbable feathers that, together, help me fly a little farther into English skies. Chapter 8. Sunset on Willow Street. I'm Selina, and the late afternoon sky has already begun painting itself saffron when I turn the corner onto Willow Street. A gentle hush settles over the narrow road, as though the city has paused to admire its own reflection in every shop front window. Old plane trees line the pavement, trunks mottled like watercolor bark, upper branches braided together in an archway that funnels the last golden light straight ahead. Each leaf seems rimmed with slow-burning embers, flickering every time a breeze tiptoes through. My footsteps echo softly against uneven cobblestones, and with each tap, I remind myself to inhale the moment, warm asphalt releasing day-long heat, far-off cinnamon drifting from the churro kiosk, and a faint mineral tang as the sea readies its evening tide 2 streets beyond. I ease the straps of my satchel, still weighted with the compass bookmark and vocabulary cards from today's library quest, then pull out my phone to start an audio log. Chapter 8, I murmur to the mic. Sunset on Willow Street. To my right, shopkeepers perform their nightly ballet. Mrs. Moreau at La Florista arranges buckets of leftover asters into a single bouquet, tying twine with fingers quick as sparrows. Neon blue petals catch the dying light, glowing like caught fireflies. Next door, the owners of Odyssey Vinyl flip a closed sign and yet leave windows open so Billie Holiday spills into the street. Trumpet notes soft as suede. Beyond that, the aroma of garlicky tomato sauce curls from Nonna Rossi's trattoria vent. I picture dinner guests swirling linguine beneath low pendant lamps, glasses clinking to weekend promises. Halfway down the block stands what I've secretly named the memory cart, a mobile stall pushed by a gray-bearded man whose suspenders are forever slipping off one shoulder. His wares change daily, sometimes antique keys, sometimes postage stamps. But tonight he's arranged hand-blown glass marbles that refract sunset into miniature galaxies. As I approach, he lifts one marble, between thumb and forefinger. Inside it, a swirl of vermilion dissolves into indigo, as if dusk itself has been bottled. I ask the price. He leans conspiratorially and says, "For you, young narrator, It costs only a story. So I tell him about Ethan and the lenticular bookmark, about how words today felt like secret doors. He listens, eyes crinkling, then presses the marble into my palm. "Keep sunset in your pocket," he says. The weight is barely there, but its color brands my skin. I tuck the marble into the coin pouch of my tote and continue. Ahead, the street widens into a small plaza where an old stone fountain gurgles lazily. Water catches sunset's last sparks and scatters them in ripples across granite. Street lamps along the perimeter flicker on, globes inside wrought iron cages, their glow honey soft. Local artist Maya has propped canvases against the fountain's edge, quick plein air studies of the very street we're on, but cast in violet twilight and sherbet orange. She wields a palette knife like an orchestra baton, scraping streaks of paint that mimic elongated shadows of the trees. I stop to watch, mesmerized by the swift economy of her strokes. "Trying to memorize the gradient?" she asks without lifting her gaze. I laugh and admit I'm a collector of moments. She tells me painters call this brief window the blue-gold minute. I repeat the term aloud, blue-gold minute, making sure each syllable melts like butter. It deserves a place on a fresh vocabulary card. In return, I share my new word lenticular, explaining how an image can shift as the viewer moves. She nods and says that's exactly what sunset does to the street each day. A gust tumbles through, lifting edges of her canvas and flipping a newspaper across the plaza. I catch the paper midair and hand it back to its owner, a man reading headlines on a bench. He mutters cheers and returns to the sports section. His gratitude reminds me of my evening mission, record 10 acts of micro-kindness for a community language. Challenge Leo found online. So far I can log 1. Trading a story for a sunset marble. 2. Rescuing a wayward newspaper. 8 to go. I head for Willow Bakery, where glass shelves now boast only crumbs and 2 lonely croissants. Inside, apprentice baker Arjun sweeps flour from the counter. He glances up, sees me pointing to the pastries, and shakes his head apologetically. Sold out. My shoulders slump, and then he grins, reaches under the counter, and produces a paper bag holding a still warm end piece of cinnamon brioche. "Staff snack," he whispers, "but I'm stuffed. Have it." Act of kindness number 3 lands in my hands, sugar dusting my fingertips like first snow. I thank him. Promise to praise Willow Bakery on my blog and continue with brioche steaming in the cooling air. Light keeps dimming. The sky now wears toasted peach near the horizon, deep teal overhead. Strings of fairy lights flick on above cafe terraces, spanning street to street like luminous spider silk. At Café Arboretum, baristas unwind soft awnings while customers linger with laptops and mint sprig mocktails. A chalkboard lists tonight's spoken word lineup. Open mic hour starts in 20 minutes. My pulse quickens. This could be micro-kindness 4 if I stay to applaud new voices. I tuck notes behind my ear and slip inside to register. The barista, a freckled woman named Saffron, scribbles my name onto the speaker sheet and offers a glass of cucumber water. On the house. Hydration helps stage nerves. Number 4 recorded. I claim a corner table beside potted lemon balm and use the interim to craft a short poem about the sunset marble, micro-kindnesses, and the blue-gold minute. I practice under my breath, chewing brioche between lines, sugar grains crackling like tiny applause. When my turn arrives, I step beneath a brass ceiling fan and face an audience of maybe 12. A young couple sharing earbuds, 2 students annotating, textbooks, Maya the painter wiping turquoise smears from her knuckles. My voice trembles at first but steadies as I describe how sunset folds itself into glass spheres, into bakery warmth, into borrowed stories. The closing line, I pocket dusk so morning will have something to look forward to, earns soft, snaps and smiles. Micro-kindness 5. Strangers gifting validation. Back at my table, a note waits, unsigned, penned in emerald ink. Beautiful cadence. Keep narrating. Number 6. I tuck it into my journal, returning to the street as the open mic continues behind me, voices rising like moths toward light. Willow Street has shifted again, shop shutters sealed, overhead bulbs humming quietly, shadows thickening around tree roots. A lone cyclist glides by, tires whispering over stone, headlamps slicing the dark. I count that subtle grace, bike bell chiming to warn sparrows, as kindness 7. Near the end of the block, a saxophonist warms up under an archway, breath-curling silver. His instrument wails a scale, then slips into autumn leaves. I drop a coin. He tips the brim of his fedora, and there's kindness 8, reciprocal gratitude in the form of jazz. One street lamp flickers epileptically, threatening to go dark. Before I can step around, a maintenance worker appears with a cherry picker truck, securing the area with reflective cones. He works swiftly, swapping a bulb so the walkway remains safe. I jot down kindness 9, guardians of unnoticed light. I near the river junction where Willow Street surrenders to a boardwalk. Moonlight trims the river's surface, and Maple Bridge's steel bones glow pale. The churro kiosk, the same one that scented my arrival, now shuts its service hatch. The vendor, Theo, recognizes me from the Riverside earlier and waves a cinnamon-coated hand. "Save the last churro for our sunset narrator," he calls, bagging it before I can refuse. Kindness 10, delivered warm. I laugh, pockets now brimming. Marble, compass bookmark, churro, scrawled note. Task complete. I lean on the railing where river and street exchange quiet secrets. Overhead, the first evening star pierces navy sky. I flick on my voice recorder once more. End of chapter 8, I whisper, letting each word drift with the current. Willow Street taught tonight that kindness glows brightest when powered by small bulbs and ordinary people. I've added blue gold minute, lenticular, cadence, and reciprocal to the growing lexicon. Tomorrow these words will rise like fresh bread, ready to share. I pocket the phone, bite into cinnamon dough, and savor a final flash of sugar-studded twilight. Then I turn toward home, footsteps softer now, cushioned by new vocabulary and the gentle certainty that language, like day into night, keeps unfolding layers of light long after the sun slides away. Chapter 9. Kitchen Experiment at Home. I'm Selina, and by the time I unlock my apartment door, the last blush of Willow Street sunset has slipped into navy, leaving only a ribbon of peach on the western edge of the sky. I flick on the hallway, lamp, kick off my shoes, and feel the flat coolness of the parquet soothe my feet. Perfect grounding after a day that felt lenticular, each angle unveiling a new layer of color and cadence. The kitchen calls first. It's a narrow galley lined with white tile backsplash and a single open shelf where my spiraled vocabulary cards perch like exotic birds. I spread the evening's haul across the butcher block counter, one crusty bouillie of sourdough, a wedge of creamy chèvre wrapped in wax paper, mint leaves from Mrs. Alvarez, strawberries now jeweled deeper red after hours in my satchel, a foil packet of saffron threads, still glowing like embers. The sunset marble, today's talisman, rolling back and forth with every tilt of the cutting board. I've decided on a late-night kitchen experiment, strawberry mint bruschetta with saffron honey drizzle. The recipe is entirely improvised, stitched together from phrases I copied this morning. Layer flavors, coax sweetness, balance acidity. Tonight the kitchen is my lab. English is both my operating manual and the soundtrack humming in the background. I push record on my phone. Chapter 9, I announce, voice bouncing gently off cupboard doors. Kitchen experiment at home. I want an audio diary of the process. Mistakes, small victories, vocabulary in motion. Step 1. Mise en place. I rinse the strawberries under cool tap water, naming each action aloud. Rinse, hull, slice. The verbs clink like measuring spoons against glass. I line the slices in neat rows, crimson semicircles fanning across the bamboo board. Tiny beads of juice gather on the grain, resembling lenticular dots, shifting sheen when I angle the under-cabinet light. I fold back the wax paper on the chèvre and pronounce today's first new adjective, unctuous, meaning creamy in a slightly decadent way. I scoop a spoonful, let it rest like a small white cloud on my palette knife, and practice the word again. Unctuous chèvre. My tongue likes the hush before the final S. Step 2. Toast the bread. A thick slice of sourdough slides into the cast iron skillet. Butter crackles round the edges, releasing a nutty aroma. I set a timer, 3 minutes each side, and whisper synonyms. Sear, scorch lightly, caramelize. While waiting, I fish out the compass bookmark and slide it under a magnet on the fridge door. Orientation even in the kitchen. Step 3. Prepare the saffron honey. I warm a tablespoon of honey in a ceramic ramekin set over a pan of simmering water. Steam fogs my glasses, so I wipe them and drop 2 saffron threads into the viscous gold. They unfurl like tiny red ribbons, bleeding color until the honey glows sunset orange. Another vocabulary jewel surfaces. Infuse. I narrate. The saffron infuses the honey with floral spice. My timer pings. I flip the bread. The crust shows a lattice of caramelized lines like the mullioned windows in Central Library. I grin at the callback and test the word mullioned again, pressing syllables into memory as firmly as bread meets skillet. Step 4. Assemble. Toast onto a plate. I spread chèvre in uneven swirls. Imperfection is part of rustic charm, I remind myself. Strawberry slices overlap, mint ribbons scatter, and finally the warm saffron honey drizzles in a zigzag, glistening. From the spice packet drift faint, exotic notes. I capture them in words. Hay, warm metal, dried apricot. Plate finished, I stand back. The colors mimic tonight's sky. Alabaster cloud, ruby horizon, green willow leaves, amber sun glow. I lift the marble to eye level. Its internal swirl mirrors the drizzle pattern. Synchronicity makes me laugh. Tasting notes. I bite. The toast crackles on mat, chèvre melts, mid-palate, strawberry pops, high note, mint cools, afterglow, Saffron hums somewhere basso profundo. I articulate each sensation, rehearsing adjectives: tart, mellow, herbaceous, aromatic, symphonic. Then I draft a full sentence for tomorrow's study group. The bruschetta's flavor profile forms a harmonious counterpoint. Tart strawberry crescendos against unctuous chèvre, while saffron honey ties every note into a lingering cadence. Satisfied, I take a second bite purely for pleasure. Scientific review. No experiment is complete without data, so I scribble variables in my kitchen notebook: bread thickness, sauté time, honey to saffron ratio. I underline ratio, then challenge myself to pronounce its comparative proportionality. It tumbles out clumsily. Proportionality. Last year I'd have blushed. Tonight I simply repeat until the vowels glide. Clean up as language drill. I fill the sink and label actions: soak, scrub, rinse, rack. I speak them in present, past, and future. I soak the skillet. I scrub the plate. I will rinse the knives. Soap bubbles catch kitchen light, forming tiny rainbows. Miniature lenticular surfaces again. I trace one with a finger until it bursts. Reflection. Corner. With counters drying, I brew mint tea using the sprigs, Mrs. Alvarez gifted. Steam coils upward, and when I place the sunset marble beside the mug, it refracts the vapor into ghostly ribbons. Silent choreography. Recording still on, I summarize. Tonight's kitchen experiment taught infuse, unctuous, and reminded me how flavor itself can be immersive vocabulary. Success metrics: edible product, 5 new sentences, 0 broken dishes. I cap the audio file, name it Chapter 9 to your kitchen experiment.mp3, and a small ping confirms upload to my cloud folder. Insurance against loss of memory. Nightcap vocabulary flash. Before lights out, I thumb through today's cards. Lenticular, cadence, reciprocal, unctuous, infuse. I lay each on the window ledge so moonlight bathes the ink. Final ritual. I plant 1 marigold seed in a tin cup of soil near the sill, whispering, "May your growth be proportional to my perseverance." I set the compass bookmark pointing north beside it. Consistent orientation. Bedtime approaches, but I crack open Jetpack Jane for a single page. Jane is parachuting into a volcano base. Her narrator uses both infuse and cadence within 2 panels. I smile. Sync again. Book closed, lights dim, and the room glows faint saffron from the street lamp. As I drift toward sleep, flavors linger on my tongue. Words ring in my ears, and I realize language, like saffron and honey, infuses every thread of my day, coloring even the spaces between thoughts with quiet, aromatic purpose. Chapter 10. Reflections and Tomorrow's Lesson. Midnight wraps my apartment in a velvet hush. The only sounds are the faint tick-tick of the hallway clock and the muted growl of a late bus sliding down Marley Road 3 floors below. Moonlight crosses the room in thin silver bars, slips through the small panes of my mullioned window, and lands on the sunset marble I brought home from Willow Street. Inside the glass sphere, dusk still swirls, amber meeting indigo, like a tiny storm that refuses to settle. I switch on my desk lamp. Warm honey light spills across the clutter. Yesterday's Café receipt, a postcard of the Old Town Museum, a sprig of mint dry enough to crumble at a touch. I open the cloth-bound notebook that has followed me everywhere this week, its pages freckled with saffron stains and hurried sketches. At the top of a fresh page, I write the date, underline it twice, then let my pen hover while I search for the pulse of the day. Images rise, one after another. Ms. Rivera's calm voice drifting through rosemary branches while bees orbited the flowers. The river's silver tongue licking the pilings under Maple Bridge as Anna and I launched a detective story downstream. Ethan's grin when we earned Ms. Hadid's owl stamp in the library. The snap of sourdough crust and the melt of chèvre under warm strawberry slices. I record each moment in a long, winding paragraph, so the feelings stay tied to the ink. Without pausing, I tuck in the new vocabulary that grew alongside those scenes: pollinate, panoramic, resourcefulness, infuse. Because a word without a memory is only half alive. A soft breeze nudges the curtains, carrying the faint scent of night-blossoming jasmine from somewhere in the courtyard. I shuffle today's flashcards, close my eyes, and pull 3 at random: resourcefulness, panoramic, infuse. One by one, I whisper them into the quiet room, then wrap them into full sentences. The gardener repaired her cracked watering can with remarkable resourcefulness. From the bridge, a panoramic sweep of rooftops gleamed like hammered copper under sunset. Mint leaves infuse my tea with a fragrance that makes midnight feel awake. Saying the sentences out loud presses the words into muscle memory. They settle on my tongue the way warm honey settles in the spoon. Now I think about tomorrow. I will meet Leo early at Rosewood Café. Practice plosive consonants while the first coffees hiss into porcelain cups. Then wander the art district with a pencil ready to catch quick descriptions of brushstroke textures and marble veins. Later, down by the harbor rail, I'll lean into the gull wind and record fragments of dockside conversation, letting real voices set the tempo of my own speech. After lunch, sunlight will spill across the museum annex where a new curator is, giving an English tour about provenance labels. 3 questions already form in my head, each one a chance to stretch fresh vocabulary. Evening will close inside Café Arboretum, fairy lights blinking against the glass while I read 4 lines of my Willow Street poem at the open mic. If my voice trembles, I'll picture those lights holding the words so they don't fall. I write. This plan is running prose instead of the grid I used last night. Lines flow one into the next like the river current I know so well. Somewhere between the sentences, I promise myself that every new word will touch real air at least once, and every mistake will be kept, examined, and planted like a marigold seed, because Miss Rivera says language germinates in darkness and blooms at dawn. The kettle finishes its soft rattle. In the kitchen, I bruise a fresh mint leaf, breathe in its sharp sweetness, then drop it into chamomile tea with a ribbon of saffron honey. As the threads unfurl, the liquid turns pale gold, and steam paints fleeting shapes on the lamplight. I lift the mug, touch the marble beside it, and realize they mirror each other. One sphere of glass holding captured sunset, one sphere of liquid holding captured spice. Both remind me that color and flavor travel best when infused gently, given time. Back at the desk, I close the notebook, slide the compass bookmark to mark the next blank page, and place everything, cards, mint stem, marble, into tidy alignment. Then I lean back, let my gaze drift to the ceiling, and imagine the words I learned today drifting there like a new constellation, cadence twinkling beside uncanny, infuse orbiting reciprocal, every star linked by faint silver lines of usage. I decide to fall asleep thinking in English so those stars keep their bloom. Lights out. The city hum fades. My last clear thought is a quiet echo of Miss Rivera's mantra. Seeds grow in the dark and blossom at dawn. Tomorrow, when the first slice of sun finds the window pane, I will open my notebook, breathe in the peppermint air, and begin again, ready to watch every new word unfurl its petals in the light. Great work today! Every moment you spend practicing brings you closer to mastering your English listening and speaking skills. Remember, progress comes with patience and consistency. If this story inspired you or helped you in your learning journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Easy English Spark channel for more lessons and stories. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep believing in your growth. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and keep shining.